Hello, I'm Greg Barone with United Home Audio, and I want to talk to you today about the SuperDeck head amp. The new SuperDeck head amp is part of the SuperDeck system, comprised of the tape transport, the head amp, the outboard power supply, an optional rack system that will house the tape transport and also the outboard head amp, and also optional hi-fi stay footers that suspend the chassis in a vibration dampening system. Very nice devices made by Hi-Fi Stay. The UHA tape head amp is a billet aluminum chassis machined from billet aluminum. It is lined on the sides and the bottom with a material called Richlite. Richlite is a vibration dampening product, very stable product, and all of the boards and every device is connected directly to the Richlite to offer a further vibration dampening system beyond the billet aluminum chassis and beyond the Hi-Fi Stay footers. The sound or the signal comes in from the tape head via XLR outputs on the back of the tape transport that come into the outboard head amp. The connection points for all cabling on the outboard head amp are separate billet aluminum pieces that are vibrationally dampened from the rest of the aluminum chassis, both for the input and the output. We'll have a further video a little bit later that will show those particular connection points and how that process works. Once the signal comes in to the head amp, the boards that are used are very interesting boards. They're certified for use in outer space. They have a very thick layer of hyperpure single crystal copper that is sandwiched with a layer of real gold below it and real gold on top of it. In addition to that, the dielectric is made out of a ceramic composite material that's stable for use in outer space. The reason that we use that particular board material is because the old FR4 boards could allow some signal bleed through over time, and that's not what you want. You want to keep your signals directly in the traces so that there's no distortion possible in that respect. There's no way that signal can propagate through the UHA boards. They cannot penetrate the layer of gold, and they certainly cannot penetrate the ceramic composite dielectric. Very, very stable boards. Even if you live in a seaside place with a lot of moisture, it's not going to affect these boards whatsoever. The boards are designed to accommodate very large gain stages and EQ stages. The boards themselves are the same boards that are used to distribute the power throughout the outboard head amp. Every gain stage and EQ stage has its own power delivery system, and these power delivery systems are not encumbered by having to power anything else, solely for that device. In addition to that, the resistors that we use are not your typical barrel with two wires coming out. They're actually a chip of mica, and there are little devices on there that resist. The great thing about these devices is that they are so velvety smooth sounding, and they allow the highs to soar, they allow the lows to go way deep, and it seems as though that combination with the power output from the gain stages that we have is working extremely well. In addition to that, you also see very large VU meters on the front of the deck. There's also a large knob. The knob will turn off the VU meter lights, and it will also turn off the VU meter operation completely. Why would you want to do that? Well, because you have a high-end audio signal that is constantly bombarded by VU meter movement. Not the best idea. So we have a system where we bypass the VU meters completely. This unit is painted with ceramic coat, which is used on a lot of high-end guns. It's virtually an indestructible finish. Has a very nice look to it. It's a very thin paint, and it goes on very thin, but it provides a very, very good coating. Before these units are all painted, the edges are all taped off. Reason being that we have a complete chassis ground on all of the pieces, front, back, sides, bottom, top, you name it. It's a chassis ground. There's a ground plug on the back of the unit to set up a star grounding system. The outboard head amp also has XLR outputs. We use the Furtec XLR chassis mount outlets. In addition to that, we also use WBT next gen RCA connectors on the output. And again, as I mentioned previously, the output cables are connected to a billet aluminum hunk on the back that is vibrationally dampened from the rest of the chassis. The product that we use there is from Japan. It's called FOQ product, and it works very well in vibration dampening applications where you can't have too much thickness. It's a very thin material. The outboard head amp is really the heart of the system. The outboard head amp is a completely dual mono system. In other words, there is no part of the right channel that has anything to do with the left channel, and that goes all the way through to the outboard power supply as well, which is providing the power. Once the power comes into the unit, it's distributed through a system that gives each gain stage the ultimate power, immediate delivery of power. So you combine the immediate delivery of power to the gain stages, to the EQ stage, and then you add to that the incredible resistors, the boards, not to mention the capacitors, the output capacitors, which are actually made for me custom. In other words, we wanted to make capacitors that would be revolutionary. In other words, we wanted them to be hyper-pure copper with a specific DuPont Teflon dielectric. We wanted gold leads, real gold wire leads. But the big deal was we did not want tin sprayed onto the end caps. Tin is not a great material for an audio system, and we tried and tried to get companies to spray molten copper, but nobody wanted to do it. So finally we contacted Railcaps, who had been bought out by Wilson Audio, and the engineers there said, yeah, we'll give it a whirl, we'll give it a try, see what we can do. Well, they did it. They actually sprayed molten copper onto the end caps. I don't think there's another capacitor out there that has that particular feature with it. But the combination, it was a combination of the copper foil and the proper thickness, the proper purity of copper, the proper size, the exact Teflon dielectric that we wanted for the caps, the gold leads, and then the sprayed molten copper on the ends produced a capacitor that is, in my opinion, without equal. And what do you call a capacitor that was made specifically for the SuperDeck? Super caps. That's what we call them, super caps. And they are quite robust. We couldn't have possibly fit the capacitors in this unit into an Ultima 4 chassis, for example. Just would not have fit. The size of the boards, the size of the gain stages, the size of the capacitors, the size of the EQ, the size of the delivery systems warranted making an outboard head amp. And so this is the first in the series of outboard head amps by United Home Audio, and we can't wait for you to hear it at the next show. I'm Greg Barone with United Home Audio. Thank you for watching.